Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of the program. It's Pod Up Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got JC and we'll have Mike Morgan from ESPN join us. He's on a world tour calling all different sports. Very busy man. We'll get his thoughts on what's going on in the sports world. He missed it last night. Gators lose to Oklahoma and Charlotte. I'll go to bed because finally the Vegas trip caught up with me last night.
Oh yeah.
And we were up by 9 when I went to sleep. I don't know what happened. So if anybody wants to tell me, they can tell me. Obviously, I read we could not make a three-pointer at all. So the bowl games are in full force. There'll be a good bowl game tonight. There were 2 games yesterday, and that's where we stand. A lot of NFL. JC and I will have our Peachland Dental picks on Friday. Pretty much I think all the NFL games are Saturday except for 3 on Christmas Day. Let's go to the Titan Moore hotline, and we are joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you. I can tell you that what happened to Florida was this kid named Grant Sherfield is what happened.
Transfer. He's a transfer, by the way.
Yeah. Well, he was wearing the red jersey. He didn't transfer to the one with the blue. And he lit it up in the second half, and they just took it from there. Florida has a problem with transition defense at the end of the game. And with 2 minutes to go, they could not stop Oklahoma transition. And I watched it, and it was just too easy. They were getting layups. And so that's just kind of something they're going to have to work on. I think at 7-5 right now, there's lots of things to take from the pre-SEC schedule. But I don't know if it gets any easier once the SEC starts. Now, there are some teams, Florida, I think will match up well with in the SEC, but there are also some that don't match up well with Florida, especially, like I said, on that transition side of things. And I'm sure Chris Harry will expand on that for you. But what I saw were a lot of easy baskets at the end of the game, and Oklahoma just basically had no issue holding on to that lead. And this kid played really well. So that was my take from the basketball game.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. Everybody's talking about Graham Mertz, I guess, committing to the Gators.
Graham Mertz.
Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Mertz.
Everybody asks what happened with Grayson McCall. It's something with his major. And look, they have to get somebody. The Tulane kid is not leaving Tulane.
No.
It is what it is. You got to get somebody that's played a little bit. Everybody wants Jason Rashada to be your quarterback. He's probably going to be your quarterback unless Mertz beats him out. Here's what I mean. Do I think he's a good player? I don't know enough about Graham Mertz. I know he's highly recruited coming out of high school. He went to a horrible place to play football as a quarterback. Maybe that has something to do with it. But here's the deal. Again, Gator people need to realize you can do everything in your power as a staff, as a school. You cannot make people's decisions. And I don't know how else to put it.
I think you can say that about life in general, QB. I mean,
exactly. That's my point. That's my point. If everybody says this is the greatest restaurant in town, but you decide you want to take your family elsewhere, that's your choice. And it is what it is right now. I don't know how else to explain it. People can sit here and talk about we're not paying enough money. Okay, here's the thing. We don't know what other schools are paying. We don't know how much money we're offering. Nobody knows the facts except the people sitting there making these decisions. So I'm at the point now where I don't really care about talking about it because it's out of my control. It's out of every listener's control. There's nothing we can do about it. And hey, here's the thing. What if Graham Mertz was your kid, JC?
Mm-hmm.
And you were reading all this stuff on Twitter and stuff. How would you feel?
Well, I don't want people to treat my kid badly.
Okay, well, I just got all these people. He's trash, this, blah, blah, blah. Hey, like I said, we probably had no other choice. So they wanted to get somebody that has played a little bit of football.
Well, he's started in I think it's 32 games, something like that. And he had a lot of success his first go around at Wisconsin, but I think his results speak for themselves. And I think what people reacted to, QB, is if you can't win in the Big Ten West, what makes anyone think he's going to be successful down here in this conference?
Well,
But
I'm gonna hold judgment on that because for a fact Wisconsin has one of the worst offenses in the world.
no, I mean Paul
Okay.
Chryst was awful.
Okay,
He was.
so I'm gonna hold judgment until we see him perform
Yeah.
because a lot of it could be in the system. But regardless of everything, regardless of it all, again, I just would like Gator fans to understand whether we're in the top 5 in recruiting, top 10, top 15, whatever it is, there ain't a damn thing you can do about it.
Well, I
And
think, but QB Gator fans are going to get into a mode where it's going to become a prove it to me before we start investing back into it. And that's where the problem lies. Because if you want to get money to players, you're going to have people to believe in what's going on here and to invest in it.
but
Otherwise,
JC,
they're going to say,
I have
show me
spoken
first.
I have spoken to multiple boosters before last season even started. This was when Dan Mullen was still there.
Oh,
And
I got
they
something to
told
tell you
me,
about him too.
and
by the way.
they told me that they don't care about any of this NIL stuff. They are not ever going to pay to have players. And
Okay.
I'm on the same boat of it. Now, look,
Well,
do we have to do it? Yes. But JC, if you were in the situation where you could write a check for player X, would you do it?
no, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay. You just answered my question.
Players, but that's
You just answered my question.
But that's me, QB. You have to remember that there are schools that have groups that are willing.
I understand there are schools, but my point is a lot of people that have a lot of money don't buy into this buying players. There's a few out there, this Ruiz guy who wants the publicity, wants his name out there. Hey, I'm the big shot. I'm going to write a check for player X, player Y. Okay. There's a lot of business people that don't want to have anything to do with that because it's, when you think about it, it's silly. It's absolutely silly.
Right. But QB, I fear that if you don't conform to what the reality is today, you will fall behind. And if you fall
there's
behind,
no question about that. Everybody's going to fall behind.
Then what's the point? I
Okay,
mean,
so my question to you and to the fan, just because Miami is opening up their checkbook that we think, and again, there's been reports out there, a lot of guys are getting what they were told they were going to get. Do you think Miami's really going to be any better?
I don't know how they can get much worse, to tell you the truth. I don't know if that's.
I don't think they're going to be any better.
I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for. But here, QB, Dan Mullen was on the radio yesterday, and he basically told the UF folks, he said, "Listen, we got to start getting involved in this NIL deal, or we're going to fall behind." They said they had no interest in it, and he couldn't get players he wanted. That's what he said. And so we saw the results of what that led to, and that's what's going to lead. That's what's going to be waiting for us in the future around here, unless somebody figures it out. Because
but again, we are not talking about coaches. We are not talking about administrators because they are not the ones writing the checks.
But they're the ones in charge of the program, and they have to convince people to write the checks. That's their job now.
Okay, so if Nick Saban,
you sell it or you don't sell it.
If Nick Saban comes to you and begs you to write a check, are you going to fall into peer pressure and write a check?
I would be a lot more inclined to give Nick Saban money based on past results than some guy hasn't proven anything. And the thing is that I see why Dabo doesn't want to get involved in this, but he doesn't have a choice either. And listen, it's kind of like when we didn't have a facility here. And the reason why we didn't have a only football facility or an indoor practice facility is because nobody was willing to spend the money. And that's what we're really talking about, is investing in your machine.
But that has nothing to do with the boosters. That comes from the athletic association, which the boosters help pay for that, which they did do that. But to convince the general public, the general public who are big time boosters, to write a check, and you see what happened at A&M, all the money they spent, the $30 million, half of the kids left.
Yes.
Okay? So I don't know what the right answer is. My point is, we all thought we were going to get a proven quarterback out of the transfer portal. All the ones that we wanted have not left their school.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
so my point to that is you
Yeah.
can't change people's minds. Okay.
Well, listen, I mean, Drake May's happy where he is, as is the kid from Tulane. The kid from NC State's going to Kentucky. Okay. Something about Kentucky made him feel better than if he were to come here. In other words, they out-competed Florida for his services.
They probably offered him more money.
Whatever it was, the point is that if
so let me ask you this. Let me ask you. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
if Devin Leary, let's use Devin Leary. If Devin Leary's out there,
yeah,
Florida's a little bit interested, Kentucky's a little bit interested. If you say, okay, Devin, we have set aside $1 million for you. We're going to offer you $1 million to sign with the Gators. Devin Leary, his agent tells Kentucky the Gators have offered this.
Yeah.
Okay. So they want to give him 1.5. Okay. His agent calls back and says, okay, we're gonna go to Kentucky for 1.5. If you have your budget set,
yeah,
you say, oh, good luck to you at Kentucky.
You did.
That's my point.
You lost. Yeah, and I'm not denying any of this, but we don't know that. But we don't know that. We don't know if that's what happened. We're just assuming it could have, and that is the point. It could have, but we don't know. Uh-oh, what happened? I can't hear. Something happened with the volume, Tammy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Say, okay, you're back now. Say what you said.
I said we paid Anthony 1.4 million supposedly.
Yeah.
I mean, was that worth 1.4 million? We won 6 games.
Yeah, I mean the results would not say it is.
Right.
And listen,
so
that happens. QB, that happens when you invest. You sometimes pick winners and sometimes you pick losers. You're not going to get a guarantee. You're not going to get a guaranteed return. And I don't blame Florida for not deciding.
Okay, so what's to say that Mertz doesn't overachieve what his value is?
I think everybody's pulling for him, QB, but based on
no, they're not. They're bashing this kid. They don't even want him to come.
Well, because of what they've seen. And, that's the thing. You want to go through another season where, gee whiz, we got a guy that wasn't proven. And what did we expect to happen? I mean, what do you expect to happen on a guy who couldn't move the football against Minnesota? I mean, I'm sorry, dude. You can look at the tape. It doesn't matter to me what kind of offense they're running. But maybe he will. Maybe he'll have more luck against Georgia than he would against Purdue.
Well, you're talking apples and oranges. JC, you got to look at.
What are you going to go with?
Look, I'll be first to say he was not great at Wisconsin, but I'll be the first to say that no quarterback's going to be worth a shit at Wisconsin. Okay?
Hey, Russell Wilson wasn't so bad.
He wasn't great.
He wasn't bad. He won football games.
Yeah. Well, they've had plenty of quarterbacks to win games there.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, how about the sad story about our guy?
Okay, hang on a second. Jeremy says JC tells the truth, okay, and Shane tries to make every excuse for this program. Okay, Jeremy, I would like for you to tell me what the excuse I'm making.
You're right, Jeremy.
What excuse have I made? Jeremy, if you have whatever you have in your bank account, how about send that money over to the university and help out there, Chief? I mean, I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
I mean, you do sound frustrated. I will admit that.
I'm not. I'm frustrated with how the people think.
What do you expect them to think? These guys went 6 and 7. They suck. Is that what you want me to say?
No. I've already. JC.
You got 700 of coaches over there.
Hey, look. Okay, listen.
Come on.
Nobody's arguing with that. I said we were going to go 6 and 6 before the damn season started. My point is, these people think that if you just pull out a blank checkbook and offer it to a player, he's going to come. Right. That ain't how it works. First of all, we don't have as much money as all these other schools do. That is a fact.
I would hope that we can compete with Kentucky on all aspects of the football.
Okay, I get that. But you don't know all the reasons why Devin Leary may not. You see, he may have grown up and said, I would never play there. We don't know. So you could just say that Kentucky outbid or whatever Florida. Maybe they did, but you don't know all the reasons behind why he chose Kentucky.
No,
So
I
you
don't.
can't come to a
Nobody
conclusion.
does. Well, I mean, nobody does. You can only guess. That's what the talk shows do, right? I mean, we don't have a direct line into his living room.
No, but what I'm saying though is, why does player X choose another school? You can only choose one,
Right.
and so that's what drives me insane when it comes to recruiting. And by the way, today is National Signing Day, early signing day. You don't know what is in a kid's mind that makes him choose to go to another school.
That's always been the case, QB. That's always been the case.
Right. But people don't understand that. They think you're supposed to get every player on the market.
Yeah, well, I get I get it. You only have 80 something scholarships, 85. You're only allowed to fill in what you can. Look, I would say getting Graham Mertz would probably be better than getting nobody. And you never know. I mean, the kid could really surprise us.
Again,
based on what we've seen, there's nothing to expect. I mean, boy, this is frustrating, this Facebook.
Teams that I mention every year. That's all I'm saying.
Well, again, unfortunately, everybody missed that. Try to say that again.
We should beat Kentucky, South Carolina, Missouri, and Vanderbilt every year. It doesn't matter.
Every year.
I've never bought into the Kentucky. I think Mark Stoops has done a tremendous job. I think they played good, solid defense, but I think they have stunk the last few years. Even though they've won 9 or 10 games or whatever, I still don't think they're very good. That's just my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion.
I don't either. I mean, I'm not trying to sit here promoting Kentucky. But
what's funny to me is everybody was all excited about this Jaden Rashada.
Yeah.
Everybody wants him to be the starter. So why do you give a damn if they sign Graham Mertz? Okay.
I know. I mean, we sat here the other day, talked about how they didn't even pay for his trip. I mean, he just showed up. Maybe he wants to be a Gator. Maybe that's the whole point of it. Maybe he sees something that he likes with Billy's system, or he talked to Billy and they came to some consensus. Here, I'm going to give you a helmet and some pads. You try it out and see how it goes for you. And, the spring's coming. On the good news, I got an a defensive lineman signed. They're going to sign today. Pretty a 4-star, I think he is. But, the quarterback position is the one that we all talk about. It's the only one that we really are interested in, as far as I'm concerned, for the purposes of a show like this, because that's where the glaring weakness is. And so nobody's overwhelmed with anything they've heard yet. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. JC on the Titan Hotline. We'll have Mike Morgan in the second portion of today's program. Ted says, how can we win 8 games with mediocre Mertz? Hey, we may not. We may play Jaden Rashada. Everybody wanted him, and we're supposed to get him. So, look, I'm a former player. I know how hard it is to coach. I know how hard it is to play.
Mm-hmm.
I know how hard it is to convince kids to go. Look, my family and the Ole Miss family raised hell when I left, right? Was there a damn thing Ole Miss could do?
Hey, look, Peyton went to Tennessee. I get it.
That's my point.
I understand all this.
Kids are going to decide what they want to do. And honestly, the only thing that changes kids' minds today, because there is no loyalty, there is none of that is involved in college athletics anymore. It ain't nothing have to do with my granddad, my dad, my uncle, my sister all went to this school. I'm going there. That is out the door. It all comes down to who's going to pay me the most money.
Well, Drake, I think it's more of an individual case-by-case basis.
Drake May is getting paid the same amount of what he was offered by North Carolina to stay, Jason. Okay?
Yeah, but
don't be naive.
He's got North Carolina ties, no?
He has a ton of North Carolina ties, but the $4 or $5 million that he was offered, Carolina matched it.
Yeah,
to
okay.
keep him.
But yeah.
Okay.
Well, how do you know he was offered $5 million? Who offered him
because
that?
multiple coaches have already come out and said that that's what he was offered. and your school was one of them. Okay. All right. So, so here's my point. Are you on the Alabama chat lines about how pissed they are that Drake May turned them down?
No, actually,
No, because you're not part of any of that. But he turned them down. Okay. All right. So back to my point. I lost
You got a lot of points. You're making. They all sound the same. I get it. Listen, we'll see how they come out of this signing period. We'll see how they come out in February. But one thing we can all agree on is that rosters have to change. So if it means Graham Mertz, it means Graham Mertz.
I just had a buddy of mine who played in the NFL for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's in media now covering college football. And this is just off. He's not watching my show, but he said that McCall had a lot of off the field issues as well. So,
okay. Well, possibly.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, these are all speculations, QB.
Yeah, it's all speculation. So,
that's right.
So people just have to sit back. Look, there's not one person watching my show or listening today has any bearing on who comes and plays for the Gators or who plays for TCU or who goes to Florida State. Nobody has any bearing on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get on Twitter, and you read what some of these people say, and I'm sure it's at every school, but it seems like on my Twitter feed, the Gator fans run kids off. So it is. John says Alabama is Jalen Milroe. They're good. Yeah. Good luck with that next year.
Hey, look, Bryce Young is playing on New Year's Eve.
Right. Bryce Young ain't playing next year.
No.
TJ Yeldon playing quarterback for you.
Well, we'll see. I mean, there's a bunch of guys they're going to throw out there and work on. We don't know who the starter is. It could be Jalen Milroe.
All right, we got a good text here on the Titan our text line from Jason from Pensacola. He says, Shane, I love you and your show and agree with you 99% of your opinion on this NIL thing. I think you offer all criticism and no optimist opinion. People come to you as a face of Gator Nation and the host of a major podcast.
There you go.
For a little light at the end of the tunnel. I agree with you on most of the NIL being horrible for the sport, but something has to get better when UK is outbidding us on talent and betting. Okay, first of all, we don't even know if Devin Leary is getting more money to go to Kentucky over Florida. We don't know that. People assume that. Do we even know if we offered him? Do we even know if Devin Leary says, I hate the Gators? I want to stay. He may have ties to the offensive coordinator in Kentucky. We don't know any of that. Okay. That's my point. He says us fans can't accept that and would hope you could understand a little better their frustration. I agree with JC on this. I think you're missing his point. I'm not missing anybody's point. My point is, I just explained it. Does anybody here, even you, JC, think Devin Leary, if he had an equal offer, chose the Kentucky Wildcats over the Florida Gators?
Yeah, you're asking me to get into his head.
That's my point.
Right,
that is the point I'm trying to make to everybody. We don't know the facts.
But you're focusing on the kid. I want to focus on this team. I want to focus on the program. I want to focus on the school. I want to focus on the investments and the resources that are here. And to me, when you pile in and you go all in and you hire 7,000 people to work in your program, the fans have a right to expect more. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at 6-6, and you're going to be.
I agree, but again, my point is that's not anybody. That has nothing to do with me, you, or anybody watching our program.
We're talking about
that has to do with our multi-million-dollar boosters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that's
right.
So the fans need to reach out to them. Maybe get them to do a podcast and they can ask them the question because they're the ones that are going to make the difference. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is you have a little bit more insight than most of the fans, and they're looking to you to give them answers.
Look. All I do is watch practice and call a football game. I do not sit in on any meetings. I do not ask anything. I have no decisions on their recruiting.
You're nobody, QB. I get it.
I am no different than you, other than I played and get to watch practice and I call the game. Again, I'm not an employee of UAA.
No,
they don't pay me.
But, no, I get it. But you're gay, you're a former player and so forth.
I just said what I do.
Yeah.
Okay. So this text here on the Titan text line asks, gave me all of Graham Mertz's stats. He says, "Is this our QB for next year, or are we still after Pratt and McCall?" Michael Pratt, word is he's not leaving Tulane, and Grayson McCall has issues and academic issues. From what that's from what I've been told. Somebody on here may know more than me. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do not follow recruiting. It does not keep me awake at night. None of that. Josh from Mississippi says, question for both of you. Do we need an established wide receiver in the portal? Do we roll with who's coming back and coming in from high school? Also missing out on other running backs from high school to Miami. Do we look to the portal? I think they offered some running back from North Carolina A&T. That's a good player that George has offered. But yeah, we lost out on some big time running back that went to Miami, but we got two pretty good running backs. I mean, we can always use another one.
Always.
So this is Alan in Atlanta. He says he saw a post game handshake, and it looked like Bryce Young is shorter than Stetson Bennett. They're both about 5'10".
They're little.
They're
little guys.
Okay.
Little guys.
So there was something I screenshot that I wanted to bring up. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Right here. Oh, so I was doing some stuff on the computer and what have you yesterday. I watched the entire Mike Leach memorial service. It was unbelievable. Had a lot of former players, coaches talk. This is a story that came out that Ross Dellinger wrote. I don't know if you've heard this or anybody heard it. Talking about one of Mike Leach's last acts in life by writing a blank check to keep open a Black-owned soul food restaurant in Starkville on Martin Luther King Drive. The old lady said, "He helped us stay open. I will always be grateful." I mean, think about that.
I know that place.
Just think about it. No, that was not publicized.
No.
It's only being publicized now because he's passed, but I think that is awesome that Mike Leach would do that.
It's a tragedy. He's taken too soon, and obviously we don't understand all these kinds of things that happen in the world to people. But again, it's about how you're remembered. That impacts people that are still living, and certainly Mississippi State, I think, did the right thing hiring Zach Arnett. They've maintained stability in their program. Good for them on that front, and good for the players wanting to play. That would have been what Coach Leach would have wanted, in my opinion. It's at least what I would think. And certainly they're going to do that and try to win a bowl game and dedicate it to the Pirate. But QB life is for the living, and I think that I think we've had our share of tragedy here in the last couple of years, and so certainly we got to hope for better times.
Before we let you go, Andy says, "Is Sam Hartman out of the question too? He's not even in the portal." So
yeah, he's staying with Dave.
So Alan, I got Alan right here is just totally off base, totally off base.
I can't see these things. I'd love to see this.
Well, all you got to do is pull up Facebook and you can see them. Oh, Alan says you felt. He goes. You felt with the team. I don't know what that means. You travel with the team. You have to sit on a bus with them. Quit lying, Shane. Okay, Alan. Let me show you. Let me tell you how this works, buddy. So we travel on. JC, you know your airlines, okay?
I do know.
It's a airplane that's 3 seats, aisle 3 seats, but it's extremely long. There's 2 entrances, a front and a back. Okay. The team and coaches enter to the front of the plane. In the back, the last 30 rows are media folks. There are some trainers, some people that I see different people every time we travel. So I don't know who the hell they are. Okay. So my point is, in the back of the plane, everybody puts their headphones on. It's not like we're talking about, man, who are we going to? Because once we get off the plane, there's 6 buses. Okay. The people in the back of the plane, all the administrators, or whatever we're called. I'm not an administrator, but I'm part of the radio crew.
You're overhead.
We get on bus 6. Okay. I don't know anybody on that damn bus. Like I told you, there's different people every time. So I am not lying there, buddy. I'm just telling you the facts. I don't even talk to Coach Napier. I've talked to Coach Napier, I think, before the season started. I don't even see the guy on a trip. So anyway.
Well, buddy, buddy, you better come up with some better answers there, Mr. Podcast Guy.
Yeah.
Because
So he's saying I'm lying. I'm not lying. I'm telling you, I just told you how I travel. And then let me back up. I don't go to team meals. We go to a media guys staff dinner. All the radio media folks, the Scott Carters, the Chris Harris, and everybody. Yeah. We eat. We go back to the hotel. We get up. We do our own breakfast. We don't eat with the team. And then again, we get on bus 6 that has nothing to do with the football team. All it does is draws us into the stadium, and we get off and we walk through with the team. But I don't talk to any players, and I don't talk to any coaches. So there you go.
I think we have an overall dissatisfaction of how things went this year, but I think things can get better if people are happy with who comes to the program. And so far, I don't think anybody's been overwhelmed. I do think that this kid Rashada that you mentioned for Miami could be something that people can get excited about, because like you said, when he went to Miami, everybody was all worked up that he didn't come here. So whatever. I mean, you know, the future is unknown.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. So anyway, all right, we got to get to Mike Morgan and just listen to what he's been up to. All right, JC, study your NFL picks for Friday on the Peach Night Dental picks.
Sounds good. Okay.
That's JC joins us on the Titan Number Hotline. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll be joined by Mike Morgan from ESPN. You're watching and listening to Pod Up Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology, Visor Rooftop, and the HBC's Restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to head to the Titan MR Hotline now. We're joined by ESPN's Mike Morgan, who maybe got to sleep in his own bed the last couple of days. How you doing, Mike?
No, this is a villa in Myrtle Beach after calling the Myrtle Beach Bowl a day and a half ago, and I'm going straight from here to Columbia, South Carolina to call a Gamecock basketball game, and then I fly straight out to Kansas City, where the low will be -4, to call the Chiefs versus the Seahawks on Saturday, Christmas Eve. And before that, I was with the Atlanta Hawks for 7 days on the road. So I haven't slept in my bed in about 2 weeks, but that's all right.
Yeah, so when you call that Chiefs game when it's -4 or whatever, because I know a lot of the TV crew have to stand outside and feel the elements. The radio booth crew doesn't have to do that, right?
I've never called a game in that stadium, but from what I understand, we do have a booth inside. Now there will be open windows, so air is going to get in, which I'm okay with as long as we've got a roof. Like when I called that Georgia-Mississippi State game, sadly it was the last Mike Leach game I'll ever call. They had us out in basically like in the stands and it was 30 degrees and windy in Starkville. And, you know, I'm still a Florida guy at heart. You know, my blood's still thin. I was freezing. Tiki Barber and our teeth were chattering for 3.5 hours. But I think we'll be at least, protected from the wind at Arrowhead.
Yeah, that's crazy. Coach Jerry Odom says here on Facebook Live, QB, you're on bus 3 with the scrubs. No, Coach, I'm on bus 6, Coach Odom.
Can I
So I'm
can I
way
just
back.
say, I loved your conversation. You and JC were fired up today, which I think that's when you're at your best, when you guys are like an old married couple. I think that makes for the best kind of a radio, or in this case podcast. And I think you're both right. I mean a lot of different stuff, but I got to say this, as someone who's traveled for teams, whether it's the Braves, the Hawks, the Panthers, the Gamecocks, when Spurrier was coaching, I was on some of those charters calling the TV games. You're not in the loop. You're just the announcer. And even though Shane Matthews is a former stud quarterback at Florida, you're not in the loop. People need to understand this. You're not sitting there in coaches' meetings going over strategy. You're at the the kids' table is what we call it. Like the announcers and the media and the SID. We're in a different section than the think tank of the program. So there's not a whole lot Shane Matthews is going to do to change the game day strategy or recruiting strategy or NIL strategy or any of that stuff.
Nothing. And like I said, I've walked. I know 2 coaches on this staff, Billy Napier and Mike Peterson. Out of all those 100 people that are walking around, administrators, recruiting, and I don't know any of them. They don't know who the hell I am either.
And they ain't got time for you.
Well,
they ain't got time for Shane Matthews.
No, and they have no idea who I am.
Right.
They'll just say, kind of wave or whatever if you walk by them, but that's it. I don't know who they are, and they don't know who I am. But that's just how it is. Mike, did you get to see the Gators play hoops last night at all?
Last time we talked, I spoke to you. I did see the bowl game, but I did not see last night's basketball game. I understand it looked a little bit overmatched, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't good. I went to bed early. We were winning by 9, and then I saw that we lost. So, it is what it is. So, Mike, a lot of my fans are upset today because supposedly it looks like the Gators are getting Graham Mertz out of Wisconsin as their transfer portal QB, which surprises me a little bit. But again, I try to let them know it's not that we haven't tried to get others.
Right.
We just may be stuck with him now, and you got to get somebody. As a former Gator grad, as you are, and a fan, I get where these people are coming from, but I try to tell them it's up to that kid, or kids, I should say, where they want to go.
Right.
And I know we're missing out. Supposedly Miami's paying a lot of money. A&M pays a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
If that money's legit, we don't really know. I don't know what to believe, quite honestly. How do you see all this?
Well, I mean, Miami's got the Ruiz guy, and he's a sugar daddy with billions of dollars. And you'd almost rather have that than like thousands of alums that are chipping in, but they just don't have the funds that a multi-billionaire has. Michigan State has one of those too. That's how you pay a coach that's done very little, $9.5 million a year to coach the Spartans. And what'd that get you last year? A pretty bad football team, a pretty bad season. So money doesn't always buy everything. I think, I go back to the first football game I had this year. It was a spring football game. It was at Kentucky. And Mark Stoops is just sitting there doing this in our meeting. Like, Coach, it's a spring game. Like, what are you all stressed out about? He goes, this NIL stuff and the portal stuff, it's going to drive us all out of the business. I mean, he was just anguishing because, again, Kentucky is not a program traditionally in football that you're gonna be the highest bidder and you're gonna get whoever you want. You're gonna they're the kind of program that other coaches go in and poach players from, right? So but if I look at it from the Gator side and I say, if you're a Gator fan and Devin Leary is clearly legit, and you see Devin Leary pick Kentucky over Florida, I get it. That stings. That stings a bit. And like you said, and when you were talking with JC, we have no idea if it was apples to apples financially. We have no idea if there's a connection with Devin Leary and the Kentucky staff. I mean, they're about to be on their 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. I do know there's a terrific culture there. And unlike Florida and unlike a lot of programs, they've had continuity because they haven't fired their coaches in the last 10 years. Mark Stoops has been there forever. He's the second longest tenured coach in the SEC behind Saban, and there is an advantage to that. I do know this. Those that assume Kentucky only spends money on basketball, you are mistaken. They spend a lot of money on football. Their facilities are ridiculously good. In fact, for the longest time, they had what Florida didn't. Florida has finally caught up with their indoor facility. So why it is, I don't know. And like you said, we'll probably never know, but I get it. If you're Gator Nation and you're watching some of these quarterbacks transfer out and you're thinking, well, shoot, in the 90s and the 2000s, Florida would be a top 3 destination for any transfer quarterback because it's kind of like a quarterback U. There are 3 Heisman Trophy winners outside of the swamp, statues of quarterbacks. There's a lot of other guys like Shane Matthews, et cetera, who played great at quarterback. And when you think of Florida's DNA, you think of quarterback and you think of great seasons by that position. So why in the world are quarterbacks not lining up to transfer? And those are the questions that a lot of fans are going to struggle with.
Well, my rebuttal to that would be in 14 years since Tim Tebow graduated in 2008.
Right.
We've only really had 1.5 years worth of good quarterback play, and that was under Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
I know.
So these kids that are being recruited these days have never seen Florida be very good at quarterback.
It's a great point. Remember the stat I gave you at the beginning of the year? Because I just stumbled upon it reading my notes. The last first-round draft pick at wide receiver. Now, Kadarius Toney is kind of an all-around, and he went first round. But before that, you got to go back to Percy Harvin, wide receiver. I mean, this is a program that was spitting out top-notch wide receivers for years under Urban and Steve. And you go like 15 years without a first-round draft pick at wide receiver. As you mentioned, 14 years with very little quality quarterback play. The DNA of Florida offensively in football, for this generation, they don't know what it used to be. You know, unless they go on YouTube, they don't know that this is an offense and a team you associate with pass happy, putting up numbers, fun and gun. It just hasn't been that way. And so maybe the Devin Learys of the world, they can't relate to that.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So you're done with bowl games. You're in the NFL, NBA.
I got one
college.
more. I got Florida State, Oklahoma, and the Cheez-It Bowl on ESPN Radio.
That's right. That'll be a good one. That's what is it? The 30th?
29th. Yeah.
29th down in Orlando at Camping World Stadium, right?
If you say so. I lose track of all these sponsorships, Shane.
Well, where they play the Citrus Bowl, where they're playing, I think, right? I hope.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mike, you got some basketball coming up. What games you got?
So I'm at South Carolina. They're really struggling. I've got them tomorrow in Columbia. And then my SEC opener is a damn good one. That'll be on ESPN2. It's Arkansas at LSU. And I think those will be 2 of the better teams in this league, which I think is very top heavy. I think the top half of the SEC in basketball is damn good as any league in America. But the bottom half, where you have all your first year coaches, where you have new rosters and teams trying to figure it out, that includes South Carolina, that includes Florida. I think there's going to be some struggle bus for those teams this year when we get into league play.
We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line from Jimmy. He says, Mike, calling a college basketball game an NBA game, what's the biggest difference?
Yeah. Hold on. Come back later, please. Housekeeping in the middle of the Shane Matthews podcast. What's going on?
I know.
Did they not get the memo? They're a little slow out here in Myrtle Beach, Shane. Great question. You know, that is the first time I've done NBA on television. I did it with Dominique Wilkins, which, Shane, for guys, you're about the same age I am in our 40s. Like that is surreal to say the least. And then the game itself is it's just such a higher level. Like I know people dog NBA basketball about X, Y, and Z, but the skill level of those players, the skill level of like a Trae Young, the skill level of I mean, I did the Bulls game was the first game I had. DeMar DeRozan, for example. It's a whole other deal. But I love both. Like, I can appreciate the elite skill level of an NBA game, which is just full of highlights and incredible back and forth action, and a college game where young kids are still running the same type of sets I ran when I played in high school, and it resembles more the game that most of us can relate to if we ever played, as kids growing up. So, a different game, different style, different skill level. But if you love the game of basketball, you can appreciate both.
Yeah. Tom on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. He's an Alabama fan. He has a question for you. He says, do you think Alabama can stay consistent towards the end of the year? As an Alabama fan, we have big wins. Gosh dang it, it goes away every time I get ready to read it. We have big wins early in the year, but fall apart towards the end. Can we keep it going? What does Mike Morgan think about that?
Mike Morgan is a huge Nate Oates fan, number one. I think Nate Oates is one of the best coaches and one of the best hires that the SEC has had in the last few years. And number two, I think Alabama might have the best freshman in basketball. I'm a big fan, and I just drew a blank on that. Brandon Miller, who I've had twice already, is 6'9", but plays like a two guard and a point guard, doesn't force the issue, efficient player. He's just damn good. So you combine that with some of the, like Quinterly's back, seems like he's been there 12 years. They've got some hard hat guys to go around him. I think Alabama's really good. They dropped some games they shouldn't, and people will blame the offense, too many threes, blah, blah, blah. But I think Alabama's as good as anybody in the league.
Yes, I'd agree with that. Text on the Titan More text line, Alan in Atlanta says, the University of Florida should never have a problem signing a full class of actual dudes every year. I do not care about losing 5 stars who make their decision primarily about money. Wish them the best of luck, but that won't always work. If money was the key to success, the Cowboys and the Yankees would win championships on a regular basis.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Shane. And I'm like you. I don't get knee deep into recruiting. I've got my partner on the podcast is excellent at that. But Florida's going to have a highly rated class.
Yeah. So they're all upset. I believe we lost 4 or 5 star running back out of the state of Florida the other day. It was between us and Miami.
Right.
He chose Miami. I'm sure he got more money, but he also probably sees that we have 2 pretty good little running backs on our roster now. That has a lot to do with it.
I'm not worried about running back.
No. I think people are, because you've heard all these different rumors about Sam Hartman when the season ended. Michael Pratt at Tulane I know they wanted him, but apparently he's staying at Tulane,
right?
Which is interesting. I mean, I have nothing against the kid. I mean, that goes to show his loyalty to his teammates and his university. So hats off to him. And then obviously Devin Leary choosing Kentucky over Florida. But again, I understand how people look at that, but we don't know everything involved. Right. So that's what drives me crazy about recruiting and all this NIL portal stuff. We could have offered Devin Leary $10 million. He may have taken less to go play Kentucky. We don't know. We don't know the answer to any of that.
We don't know that. And again, you're dealing with one program that's had continuity for the last decade plus. Mm-hmm. With their head coach, with their overall kind of culture, and you've got a program in Florida that has had to flip the script now multiple times in the last few years, and so if you're a quarterback, like you and I were talking about, a lot of these kids, they don't know what happened 15 years ago. Okay, so they know about the swamp and they know about Gator Nation and all that's great, but what is the DNA of the offense in 2023 look like? I mean, what is the identity of Florida's passing game? We don't know yet. It's only been 1 year, and you had a quarterback that was inconsistent at best that was running it. So you didn't get to see it really get humming in 2022. So if I'm a transfer quarterback, I'm all, how these guys think, Shane. I mean, it's about what am I going to do? Where am I going to go to help enhance my draft stock? I mean, if the money is equal, apples to apples, right? $1 million here, 1.1 there. Where am I going to go? Who am I going to play for that's going to help me be a high draft pick and play my ultimate dream of NFL football. And is that Florida right now? We don't know because we haven't seen the offense truly develop.
That's true. I was reading a couple of these texts here or these Facebook lives. Zach says we're upset because we don't have a QB. I get it, but we don't. I mean, y'all wanted Jaden Rashada, who's coming in, highly touted. Maybe he's your starter. Greg said, "Who was the QB you say Florida was getting, Shane?" I thought for a fact they were getting the Tulane kid, who I think is a really good player, but apparently he wants to stay at Tulane, and
right.
Good for him. I mean, that's his decision, and I salute it because he's not going to just maybe. I don't know if he has 1 or 2 years left of eligibility, but maybe he feels like, you know what, I'm loyal to my team. I chose to come to Tulane, and I'm going to play with these guys, and so we'll see.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this quickly. We don't know how some of these things are going to turn out, and I'm going to tell you this much: it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. The only reason Spencer Rattler goes to South Carolina is because Shane Beamer happened to be an assistant coach at Oklahoma, and Spencer Rattler, Mr. Five-Star do everything, gets benched for the eventual Heisman Trophy winner at Southern Cal. So Shane says, "Look, kid, I got a home for you." He didn't grow up a Gamecock fan. He didn't know anything about South Carolina football. He had a connection with Shane Beamer. Will Levis gets completely overlooked, like James Franklin at Penn State, and then all of a sudden gets a phone call, winds up in Kentucky. Again, no connections there. Hendon Hooker, who could have won the Heisman Trophy if he stayed healthy, and is the best turnaround story in the SEC with Tennessee, right, with South Carolina, he can't even find the field at Virginia Tech, and so he winds up in Knoxville. And there was nobody excited about that transfer. They weren't going on the message boards in Knoxville going, "We just landed Hendon Hooker." So the point is, it might not look great now, just like it didn't look great in some of those setups, but you just don't know who's going to turn out and when they turn out.
Great point. And what's amazing is, so let's use South Carolina, for example. Would you say that that program is on the rise under
Absolutely.
Shane? Okay. Think about what just happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
They lose their star tailback, Marshawn Lloyd, who is in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
Jaheim Bell, their do-all kind of Debo Samuel type guy, has transferred to Florida State.
Right.
After they've won however many games and going to the Gator Bowl.
Right.
And just beat Tennessee and Clemson, and they're hauling butt. So, I mean,
full out free agency, Shane. That's what we have. It's full out free agency, and there is no loyalty for most of these kids in college football.
Yeah. So, Mike, good luck getting back to your house and sleeping in your own bed, my man.
I'll just be happy if I don't freeze to death in Kansas City and have no plane issues.
Well, I'm going to tell you that the biggest key, and you probably already know this, is get you some of those little hand warmer things that you shake. That as long as your hands can stay somewhat warm, you'll be okay.
Right. Okay.
You'll be okay. And wear a beanie, because you got to. I guess you could put that over your ears will be warm as long as your ears are warm.
I'll put the headset over the ears. No doubt. No doubt.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, my man.
Same to you. Same to all your listeners. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Mike Morgan. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We appreciate him and JC. Ruzoger State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Tomorrow we'll have Brent Beard get his thoughts on college football. We're also going to have Franz Beard join us tomorrow and break down the Gator signings. Look, I get where the people are coming from. Don says, another puzzling thing, our new facility on campus that costs us millions, shouldn't that be an appealing thing for recruits? Yes, Don, it is. What I like to tell people is, because I've been harping on that facility for 15-something years, we finally got it. Now we're on a level playing field. Now we have to win games. But the problem is what we've built is great, state of the art. But other competitors have now added on and remodeled their facilities that trump ours, if that makes any sense. But I don't think the facilities are as big. I mean, you got to have it, but it's all about cash money these days, I think. which is it's crazy. So should be an interesting day. And yeah, a lot of questions about Grayson McCall, rumors. I don't know if it's facts, off the field stuff, classes not being able to transfer. And what's crazy to me is you don't hear one thing about any kid signing today in today's world or transferring about academics, because it's really irrelevant nowadays in college athletics, quite honestly. Have a great day there, folks. We'll recap everything tomorrow. We appreciate you listening and chiming in, giving me your opinions. Hopefully the Gators, I know they're going to get some good players. Hopefully they pan out. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.